Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. My name is Jason Parker and I hope you enjoyed that ASMR intro. I made it especially for you. Today we're going to talk about episode 2 of The Witcher, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and my feelings about it. I actually enjoyed episode 2 more than episode 1. I would give this like a 7.5 out of 10 instead of a 6 out of 10. In this episode we meet a lot of new characters, including Yennefer, Istrid. I was pretty sure that was a girl's name, but anyway. We also meet some mythical creatures, including the King of Elves, as well as the Queen, Leader, Woman of Witches, Tissaia. Actually, it's amazing to me how much they pack in a 1-hour show. There's a lot of storyline elements going on. We start right off with this crooked girl, who we later discover to be named Yennefer. The autocorrect in my notes application really does not like her name. In fact, I'm having to teach it to accept many of these names and places in this story. Anyways, her story is interesting. She starts right off as the underdog. People are mocking her, making fun of her. Her own parents don't love her. Right out of the gate, she is abused, and then we see she teleports to a cave and meets Istrid, this male magician. He tells her that she must somehow have portaled there using her innate abilities. He helps her portal back home, but it's too late because the Queen of Witches has detected a rift in the chaos of magic and has tracked her down. She finds her there on the farm and buys her for 4 marks, less than the price of a hog, from her father. Her mom's complaining, but very quickly the witch takes her and brings her to some place called Aretuza, which apparently is like some castle training grounds for magicians and witches. Anyway, Yennefer is so distraught about being sold for only 4 marks that she tries to commit suicide, and fails. Meanwhile, we see Princess Cirilla, or who is now being known as Ciri, and she's running through the woods trying to escape from her pursuers, and she meets this elf named Dara. And that's definitely a girl's name. I know a Dara in Ukraine, and she is a girl. Anyway, he helps her not to eat the poison berries by throwing a stone at her to stop her. And it's kind of weird because the whole time he acts like he can't talk, and then later in the episode he just kind of starts talking. Not to complain, I'm just saying it was a little weird and I don't know why he did that. Oh, and another really interesting thing about this episode is we discover this dynamic between the elves and the humans. Apparently, they're not super friendly with each other. There was something called the Great Cleansing, in which they were doing a genocide on the elves, basically. And so you could say they're a little salty towards each other. At any rate, I feel like it's a pretty interesting dynamic for this world, and we see this theme revisited quite often, and it actually becomes important later in this episode. Alright, so Ciri. Hey Ciri.
Yes?
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Alright, so here was kind of a funny part for me. I am going to complain a tiny bit about a discrepancy. Ciri is in the woods and she just met this elf, who she doesn't realize is an elf yet, named Dara, which is a girl's name. And Dara offers Ciri if she wants to eat a rat in the forest, because, you know, they're hungry. And Ciri's like... And Cirilla is like, no thanks, I don't eat rats. And then next scene you know, he's cooking up a rat and she's hungry, so she's eating it too. But that's not what I'm concerned with. Here's what I'm concerned with. Look at Cirilla's face. Look at her forehead. Okay, now 3 seconds later, look at her forehead. What's going on? That must have been some aggressive rat. I mean, that makes me think, was there some part of the story that was just completely cut out? Maybe during the editing room, he's like, we don't really need that scene where the rat jumps on her face and claws her 3 times before the elf pulls it off of her and then they cook it up. Or whatever happened, I don't know, it could have been more cool than that. That's just something that kind of pulled me out of the story for a moment. And please comment below, is that something you noticed when you were watching? I'm curious, am I the only one picking up on these details? Am I a big complainer, or was it pretty obvious? Maybe those of you who have read the book know if there was something that was supposed to have happened there that they just decided to remove because the episode was running too long. Okay, there was a lot more that happened in this episode, so I'm really gonna have to speed it up so I can give you my thoughts. Next, we are in a city called Posada. I really like this beautiful scenery they're showing here. The concept and the set design, it's very breathtaking. Anyway, there is a bard singing in a bar, and Geralt and the bard meet, and the dialogue between them is very funny. I wasn't necessarily laughing at the bard's remarks so much as the way Geralt replies to him, you know, because he's very stoic and isn't trying to be polite. I like the way he pauses and takes his time to answer also.
I'm here to drink alone.
Cut back to Aretuza. Yennefer has attempted suicide. She wakes up and the Queen of Witches, Tissaia de Vries,
Tissaia de Vries.
is standing there saying like, that was really lame. You shouldn't have tried to commit suicide. Not cool. At this point, Tissaia
To say a de Vries.
also starts calling Yennefer by a new nickname, Piglet. That's probably what I would call someone who just tried to commit suicide also. What a charming lady. Anyways, fast forward and Tissaia is teaching a room of hopefuls how to do magic. Anyways, I enjoyed this. It kind of gave me like a Harry Potter feel when they get into the university and they're just starting to learn. I think that's an exciting thing most people can enjoy watching. However, the first girl to try this, who is like able to float the rock, gets her hand all shriveled up and destroyed. And then the teacher was like, oh yeah, you should be using the flower so the energy is drained from it instead of something else, like your face. And I'm thinking, if this is a room full of like possible hopefuls, why is she just wasting them? Aren't they like rare type of people? And I'm really curious, comment below, did it happen in the book like this or just the TV series? Because I kind of feel like it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you just waste a valuable resource like that? Why not just say like, hold on to the flower first? It would be an easy thing to do. And I guess I understand they're trying to show how Tissaia is kind of a heartless, cold woman. Witch. Anyways, Yennefer is having no luck with doing magic and she kind of wanders around the island castle thing they're on, wanders into a cave and then happens to meet Istrid. Sorry, I have to keep referring to my notes to remember their names. Istrid is the guy magician. So apparently he's living there also, spends most of his time in this cave with the bones, and we see them starting to talk and starting to become friends. I like how he gives her this smile, starting to turn on the charm next to this pile of bones and skulls.
It's good to meet you properly.
And we're back to Cirilla. She's in the forest. She meets some of her people from the same town who got destroyed. And she meets this boy who's helping her out. And she discovers his brother was killed by an elf. And so now this boy is collecting elf ears on his necklace.
I killed them all.
Charming. He takes her back to meet his family. We discover that his mom hates the queen and the entire royal family. So Princess Cirilla is keeping quiet about her identity. And then we also have this scene with this small person. And the mom says something like, don't worry, he's one of the clean ones. And you start to see there's some like kind of weird dynamic there. Anyways, I enjoyed this. It's cool to see some of this world being fleshed out more. It's a shock to Princess Cirilla to understand that the common people have a lot of hatred towards the royal family, of which she is a part. Then we're back to the Bard and the Witcher, and they're walking to find this devil. There's some more funny dynamics between the two as they're walking. And when they get to the top of the hill, there's one of my favorite scenes where they encounter this kind of goat man. And it's just so random and funny. He starts attacking them. And they're throwing insults at each other. And I'm trying to get a good look at this like devil goat man's face, but it's all happening so quickly.
I am Torque, the Sylvan, a rare and intelligent creature!
Then we're back with Yennefer suddenly. They're trying to learn how to read each other's minds, but Yennefer's failing to do it, so she lies to Tissaia,
Rectress of Aretusa.
who replies back by saying like, oh, you're just afraid of the truth that no one would love you even if you were beautiful. This woman has a nice way with people, a good bedside manner. Anyway, Yennefer leaves and goes back to visit Istrid, the male magician, and he helps her learn how to read minds by sharing his favorite thoughts with her, or rather thoughts that he thought she would love. And things are starting to get a little bit romantic between the two. Later, we see another really cool scene where the witches are in a cave trying to learn how to catch lightning in a bottle, which I just think is a really cool concept, and it's visually very cool. The way they did it, the effects just look awesome.
I did it.
10 out of 10 for the special effects. Again, I get this feeling that the head witch, Tissaia,
To say a de Vries.
doesn't really care so much for the well-being of these newbies. You know, one of them immediately gets electrocuted and almost dies. Another one succeeds to catch the lightning in the bottle, but then it explodes, maybe blinding her. One of them succeeds, Yennefer fails, and then Tissaia says something that really enrages Yennefer, and in her rage, she is suddenly able to like shoot a lightning bolt out of her finger, almost killing Tissaia, except that Tissaia is like super expert and just deflects it up into the sky. So yeah, I thought that was awesome. I really enjoyed that scene. Back to Geralt. Geralt and the Bard are tied up and being abused by an elf.
You don't deserve the air you breathe.
Then the King of Elves walks in, Filavandrel. He's saying how the elves have been oppressed by the humans, how they've had to retreat up into the mountain, and they've been stealing food from the humans to survive. Geralt gives him the advice that they should go somewhere else and become stronger and teach the humans to really fear the elves. The Elf King is deciding if he needs to kill Geralt and the Bard, and Donkey Man, Torque, of the Sylvan. I think that's his type of people. Sylvans? Not really sure. So the Torque stands up for Geralt and says like, hey, Geralt could have killed me if he wanted to, but he didn't. He's one of us. So they decide not to kill anybody, and Geralt and the Bard are set free. But first, we're back with Yennefer and Istrid. He relinquishes a secret to her on how to create his type of portal, and she relinquishes a secret to him that she is 1/4 elven. That's probably not a very popular thing to admit. And then they kiss. Aww. Anyway, Yennefer returns back to talk to Tissaia, and apparently this was a mission for Yennefer to carry out to discover Istrid's secret for how he does his portal. Tissaia approves of Yennefer being able to control her emotions and execute the mission successfully, and henceforth stops calling her Piglet. Back at the camp with Princess Cirilla, they are attacked by the Nilfgaardians. Everything's in chaos, and the mom of the boy insults the small person, and when she turns around, then he just like takes a knife and goes to town stabbing and killing her. I don't know, perhaps some pent-up rage? I guess he was like a slave or something and took this chaotic moment as an opportunity to kill her and set himself free? Don't really know, they didn't quite explain that. Back at Aretuza, Tissaia turns 3 of the hopeful witches into eels, and then calls Yennefer down and says, hey, push them into the pool. And at first Yennefer's like, no, and then Tissaia's like, yes. And then Yennefer's like, okay. And I don't know, that was just a little weird to me. I didn't understand how... I mean, Tissaia is obviously like an evil person, right? And Yennefer, I guess, is supposed to be good. We're kind of rooting for her. So why does she just agree to do it? Anyway, the reasoning and the kind of the character and the feeling was a little unclear to me there. And at the end, the Bard and the Witcher are walking away. This is the last scene of the episode. The Bard starts singing some song, and the Witcher stops him and says like, hey, that's not true. Haven't you learned some respect? And the Bard is like, respect doesn't make history. And then proceeds to sing this kind of song that's not true at all. And in reality, the Witcher was kind of siding with and helping the elves and the Sylvans. But in the song, the Bard makes it like he was helping the humans, and he pushed the elves back up into the mountain and defeated the devil. And the Bard is making the Witcher out to be more of a hero, someone who the humans can accept. And actually, it's kind of a catchy song. The first time I heard it, I was like, meh. But then I heard it again, and I was like, this is not so bad. Toss a coin to your Witcher. Anyway, so that was all of episode 2. As I said, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it much more than the first episode. Somehow it just felt more engaging. I was seeing more characters that I actually cared about, and some really interesting things happened. Really, a lot happens in 1 hour of The Witcher, I guess. Anyways, I'm going to be going through every single episode of The Witcher, all 8. So if you don't want to miss what I've got to say about the rest of the episodes, remember to subscribe and click the notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, you can help me out a lot by smashing like. And that being said, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time.